Overpower Tournament Season 0 is coming to a close, and the first ever Nationals is less than a month away. It's going to be held in Columbus, Ohio on February 28th, and there's $25,000 in prize support. So who's going to earn the first place and take home the big purse? Well, stick around and you're going to see what I think is going to make it to the top this year. So first off, we're going to talk about what stuck out in the regionals to set a scene for what's coming up at Nationals. I've already made a video talking about each of the regional winners, but we're going to dive into what else performed well so we have a better informed decision about what could make it to the top in the Nats. Then I'm going to share 5 takes on what I think is going to climb the Overpower Mountain. So currently, the scene is that shift is king. We have Woo Witch, who's won 2 of the last regionals, and they've showed up in every single one so far, and they're extremely strong. You're able to shift attacks away from you and avoid the KOs that's going to cost you cards in the long run. So let's take a look at the top 3 decks of each regional to see what else made its way to the top. In Seattle, Phil Miller won using Leonidas, Zorro, Deja Thoris, and Billy the Kid in reserve. Joe Peters took second place with the Wicked Witch, Joan of Arc, Jane Porter, and Morgan Le Fay. Then in third place, Andrew Taylor got Sun Wukong, Mina Harker, Wicked Witch, and Billy the Kid. In Ohio, Derek Bertrand won using Sun Wukong, Dr. Watson, King Arthur, and Billy the Kid in reserve. Thomas Keeney used Wicked Witch, Sun Wukong, Joan of Arc, and Billy the Kid to get second. And Justin Sadie took third place with Sherlock Holmes, Count of Monte Cristo, Victory Harbin, and Carson of Venus. So we saw a combat shift deck, a Woo Witch, and an intelligence. In Toronto, Thomas Keeney took the win using his Sun Wukong, Wicked Witch, Joan of Arc, and Billy the Kid deck, which we saw from the last regional. Then Phil Keffer took second place using Leonidas, Sherlock Holmes, Count of Monte Cristo, and Doc Watson in reserve. And Nor El Barad took third place with Leonidas, Zorro, Tarzan, and Jane. So we saw a Woo Witch shift, a combat intelligence blend, and a pure combat deck. In the final regional in Philly, Ricky took first place using a Sun Wukong, Wicked Witch, Doc Watson, and Carson shift deck. And then Adam took second place with Morgan Le Fay, The Mummy, Wicked Witch, and Ra in reserve. And Sean Ballantyne got third using Joan of Arc, Jane Porter, Sherlock Holmes, and Moriarty in reserve. So we saw a big Woo Witch shift win, but then we had a pure energy and a pure intelligence deck come in second and third. Alright, so this is the layout of the 12 decks that made the top 3. We have a combat, a Witch and Joan, a Woo Witch, Sun Wukong and King Arthur combat, another Woo Witch, an intelligence, another Woo Witch, a combat and intelligence split, combat, Woo Witch, energy, and intelligence. So let's group these to see what we're looking at. Rearranging those a little bit, we've got a couple different archetypes. We've got Woo Witch, we've got combat, whether that's Leonidas or with Sun Wukong. We have a intelligence combat, we have pure intelligence, we have pure energy, and then we have Wicked Witch and Joan of Arc. So those are the different types of decks that have made the podium throughout the year. As you can tell, Woo Witch and the shift has been around all season and isn't going away anytime soon. Witch has made half of the top 3 decks because she's an awesome 8 who only needs 4 specials to have a huge impact in her deck. She's fit in split decks for the most part, but also made it into that all-energy deck of Adams just fine. A third of the decks also have had a really strong combat focus. So basically combat, intelligence, and the Witch are all really strong. But do I think that they're going to sweep the top 3 in Nats? Let's take a look. Alright, prediction number 1 is that intelligence is going to make it into the top 3. We've seen Joan of Arc 3 times, Count of Monte Cristo twice, and Sherlock 3 times in top 3 decks in these regionals. I think a pure intelligence deck is going to crack into the top 3, whether that's Moriarty's Master Plans, Sherlock's Deductions, that counts vengeful actions, or any other number of smart intelligence characters taking the crown. They've got Baker Street synergy, have really strong responsive actions, and preemptive ways to destroy cards and plot future actions. Intelligence decks could easily go all the way and break the combat win streak and put Woo Witch in the ground. Prediction number 2 is that a pure combat deck is also going to make it into the top 3. So Leonidas himself has made it into at least 14 of the top 8 decks this season. He's a level 8 bruiser who dominates the power pack, and one of the best ways to tackle a shift is to just keep on chucking Venture at them until they go down. Even if you're not going to KO anyone, you're still going to win the battle and take those missions, if you're willing to get a little bloody and not duck out, that is. So 3 Musketeers, Zorro, Tarzan, there's a lot of compliments to join Leonidas' ham-fisted fun beatdowns, and I think they're going to make it to the top 3. Take number 3 is that Woo Witch's time is over. Now I think this is the real hot take because Woo Witch has been around the entire tournament season and it's shown that it's only getting stronger by winning the last 2 regionals. But I think that's also going to be its downfall. You see, everyone is practicing against this shifty duo. Everyone has been developing strategies for how to take shifters down and how to endure. I think it's going to be even tougher for a shift deck to reach the top when all decks have been set and targeted against them. And I predict that we're going to be seeing more Van Helsing appearances to bring that remainder of battle, remainder of game wipe, the negates, and his anti-special attacks to really do that extra damage against the shifters that are going to be showing up at the Nats. All that training is going to leave Wukong and the Witch behind. No deck is strong against everything. Take number 4. I'm fitting in a combat beatdown deck and an intelligence crafty hitting deck making the podium. But that final spot, it's not going to be a repeat of what we've seen before. It's going to be something unexpected. But what does that mean? That third and final spot, regardless of where it's going to place, is going to be something unexpected and new. Brute Force hasn't made any waves this season. Everyone's expectations for Hercules were dashed in Seattle, and there really hasn't been too much of a dedicated effort to see whether he can make a comeback story. Cthulhu and Angry Mob have both barely shown up and made a play in the modern age. We've also got energy characters like Zeus. Now, Zeus has reached the top 8 twice, but he's got so many weaknesses that most players have given up on legitimately playing him. My predicted prevalence of Van Helsing will make that even harder for Zeus to climb the mountain, but it's hard to compete with throwing a whole bunch of 9s throughout a battle. Maybe we'll see Zoo Witch this time around. Characters like Ra and Merlin bring a ton of utility, where characters like Mina and Mummy bring a ton of survivability, plus those half negates. That leads to a pretty survivable build in energy characters, and potentially we'll see another repeat performance of energy making the podium. But these are just a couple different ideas. There's a lot out there that has not yet been tried in the ERB World Legends set. Take number 5 is that 3 of the 14 unseen characters are going to make it into the top 8 in the Nationals. So 14 characters total have been missing from competitive decks, but as we saw with the Headless Horseman Ra and Professor Moriarty in Philadelphia, they're not out of the fight just yet. Currently, Angry Mob Industrial Age, Angry Mob Modern Age, Anubis, Dracula, Hercules, Invisible Man, John Carter, Lancelot, Mr. Hyde, Poseidon, Sheriff of Nottingham, Tars Tarkas, Time Traveler, and Van Helsing have all not made it to the top 8 yet. Now, I think Van Helsing is going to be a shoo-in. He's going to be showing up to combat that shift. I also think that Hercules might finally make it into the top 8. The last, well, any of these are a possibility. Time Traveler with his discard 3, Tars with his discard 2, Anubis bringing back dead character specials, you name it, there's a ton of options. I think 3 of these characters are going to show up in the top 8, and one of them potentially will make it to the podium. And those are my predictions for the first ever LRG Nationals. Tell me below which of my 5 takes you think is wrong. But don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to tell me which ones you agree with, because I don't want you to have to spoil your deck for the Nationals. You can keep it a surprise for the big day. But until the end of February, I'm the Traveling Goof. Take care and venture well.